Wonderful. Well, hi everyone. My name is Shahrzad, and I'm the founder and CEO of BroadbandTV. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Today I'm here to talk to you about specifically some macro trends as it relates to online video, and we're going to cover some of the key takeaways as we look at the future of storytelling. So, when you're looking at, I'm going to go to the beginning of the presentation. It's great, you can see everything. So I think it's always good to start by looking at what happened. 50 years ago, what we had was, what we cared about was all about color, reception, and the number of channels that we had. 10 years ago, this changed to the screen size, resolution, and the package of channels. Today, where we are, well, we need to have a seamless experience. We are thinking multi-platform, whether if it's digital or if it's traditional. Social is becoming more and more important. We are interacting with obviously our audiences. Communities matter. It's important as we actually look at the millennials. They all want to feel like they're following specifically a part of a tribe. And finally, it's about the range of content. And when we speak about range of content, we're really thinking niche programming, how we can actually program for niche audiences. So let's take a look at, 2015 was really a turning point. Why was it a turning point? We all have seen this, massive shift in terms of growth for viewership as it relates to digital. But 2015 was the first year where we saw a decline as it relates to consumption across traditional platforms. You may ask yourself, why? Why is it that we're seeing this shift? Well, one of the big reasons is the whole notion of millennials and how they're consuming content. Millennials are spending more time than any other demographic consuming content online. 96% of them watch content across online platforms. More importantly, they're watching more content online than traditional platforms, whether you're looking at AVOD or SVOD platforms. And the other thing that we need to pay attention to, Variety did this study earlier this year, where they looked at millennials and teenagers in the US to see how they define celebrity. And what was so interesting was that 9 out of the 12 actual celebrities, they were YouTubers. And this clearly illustrates this massive shift in terms of how we define influence and how the digital creators in this day and age, they have a much greater influence than traditional players. So, when we look at the 80s and 90s, you look at companies like Viacom, and they really created verticalized, and they created brands that spoke to the next generation of culture builders. We're looking at brands like MTV, Spike, Nickelodeon. Where we are today is really an evolution of that. And what do I mean by that? Well, verticalization matters, brands, content matters, but we need to also understand the importance of technology in building successful brands. Technology, data, and social play an important part. And this is what we really have done at BroadbandTV. We've really focused on verticals that are extremely popular within, obviously, the millennial demographic, but we've also leveraged mobile and social to create the engagement that you deserve to be able to connect with those audiences. And today, we're the second largest multi-platform network in the world. So when you're thinking about millennials are passionate and social and tribal demographic. They want a flag to bear and they want a domain to own. They also consume content simultaneously across these different platforms. But what is important for us to pay attention to is that when we look at the right strategy in creating content for these different platforms, we can't think of digital as one single platform. You need to be able to program for each of these platforms specifically. You have video platforms like YouTube. Again, the content that you produce for those video platforms are very different than content that you produce for social sites like Facebook and Snapchat. Again, very different than what you actually experience on live, whether if it's Twitch or Periscope, or if it's AOL Live, or with now virtual reality, which is the ultimate human experience. So we really need to think about all these platforms in their unique way and understand how users are consuming and interacting with audiences on these platforms. We all know that ad dollars always follow consumption. And mobile has played a big part, representing a big chunk of consumption in online video. Today, across all the video platforms, mobile represents 41% of consumption. And this number on YouTube already is 50%. And the numbers are obviously growing, as you can see, obviously, on the chart. But what is more important, we all know digital is a significant portion of global ad spendings. More importantly, online video is the fastest growing ad format. And mobile plays an important part when it comes to driving ad spendings for specifically digital. And obviously, eMarketer is forecasting that mobile ad spendings would also almost represent 50% of total digital video ad spendings by 2020. So as we look at how mobile is becoming a big part of this online video ecosystem, we also need to think about monetization beyond ad sales. And we need to think about how can we monetize our content and IP beyond ad sales. Again, advertising is part of the equation, but it's not the whole game. So let's take a look at the snapshot of the top 15 apps across smartphones. When you analyze the trends, you'll actually observe that really there is high affinity across apps that are social, and they're around video content. So how can you really, truly capitalize on that? Well, let's take a look at m-commerce, for example. M-commerce is an industry that was a $200 billion industry in 2014 and is forecasted to grow to $600 billion by 2018. And when you combine video and e-commerce, you can think of so many ways that you can actually monetize the content that you own or license, at the same time integrate that, whether if it's through cards or any other, obviously, online integration through e-commerce. So again, what I want us to kind of take away here, when you're thinking monetization, you need to think beyond ad sales. You also need to think global, because at the end of the day, you need to not only create formats that work specifically in the territories that you operate. Yes, digital is about global, but you need to have a localized strategy in each of the markets that you operate. You need to make sure you have a nimble cycle that can actually take a content and format that is working in a territory that you're operating and taking that across, obviously, other territories. So let's take a look at the influencers and why is it that this new generation of content creators are so successful, and some of them are even more successful than some of the brands that we grew up with. And really, kind of the key to having a successful strategy for content creation is making sure that your content is discoverable, making sure that you actually have a smart entertainment strategy, and that content ultimately is authentic. The reason why this new generation of content creators are so successful is because they actually have a personal relationship with their audiences. They interact with them, they listen to them, they see what actually is exactly working for them and what is it that they're looking to consume. So being authentic is really important. The other thing that we need to pay attention to is that the talent in the content, those influencers, are not just the talent, but they're also the channels for distribution and marketing of that content. So how can you benefit from this? Well, you can actually benefit from this by collaborating with the influencers, leveraging them as brand ambassadors to be able to actually interact with the audiences that you like to actually reach, to improve the actual engagement across your library of content. We talked about smart entertainment. So what do I mean by smart entertainment? Really, smart entertainment is the same way that we actually create products in the digital age. We have an agile approach. We need to think of content production the same way. From the point that you actually, point of ideation, concept development, you actually need to get the community involved. You need to get the influencers involved to be able to come up with the best programming strategy. You need to test that out across different distribution channels. So it's not about finding actually a content and distributing across all the channels. You need to really fine-tune it, tweak it until you get it before you actually have mass distribution across multiple channels. Technology is important because we need to understand trends. We need to analyze data and see why is it that the content is getting consumed, how it's getting consumed, when it's being consumed, which platforms are actually consuming it, what is the demographic, and make sure that you apply those learnings to the new cycle of production as you go ahead. So really, it comes down to data, leveraging data and intelligence to understand your programming strategy, coupling that with the power of working with influencers, again, as your brand ambassadors, to really interact with the right demographic, leveraging topics and trends that are really engaging across social media, to have a proper, solid strategy for content production and distribution. And ultimately, that's how you can actually activate audiences. So I want to take a minute to talk about technology. Technology in this day and age for online video impacts everything that we do. We talked about smart entertainment, which goes through how we produce content. This is also important when it comes to distribution. You don't want to take the whole library of content that you have and distribute it on every single platform. You really need to leverage technology to understand which format, which programming is working on which platforms, to better understand what content you want to produce or license with from existing library across distribution across different platforms. The third pillar is really marketing. You need to leverage technology and leverage machine learning techniques, big data, to be able to optimize every aspect of content. This goes from content optimization, keyword optimization, thumbnail optimization, title optimization. Again, you want to make sure that your content is discoverable on every platform where you're distributing it. So really, this becomes a key part when you're looking at platforms like YouTube, where you have 400 hours of content that is being deployed every minute. You really need to make sure your content is getting in front of the right audience. And finally, it's monetization. Whether if it's branded entertainment, influencer marketing, or if it's reach media, you really need to leverage technology to get into the right obviously, audience and creators. And this is what we've done at BroadbandTV. This is why we've been so successful. We've built a series of solutions and technologies that helps us manage every aspect of that ecosystem, from fan-uploaded copies of content, to premium assets, to optimization of that overall experience, to obviously further enhancing that by creating a monetization engine in terms of empowering us to obviously further improve the monetization capabilities around that content. So really, I want to end this by pointing out 3 key takeaways. One is customer optimization. Understand your customer. Social, mobile plays an important role here in terms of customer optimization. We can learn a lot from companies like YouTube, Google and Facebook, and how they have actually optimized their platforms for customer optimization. Content. Really think of creating cost-effective content models. And that, again, does not come down to having just a digital-first strategy. That's leveraging influencers, leveraging crowdfunding, and through collaboration and leveraging the whole smart entertainment methodology. And finally, when you're looking at monetization, think beyond ad sales. It's not just ad sales. You need to think about how you can leverage technology and find new ways to monetize your IP. Thank you.